Israel as an entity doesn't see itself as part of the Middle East in a sense. It is in the Middle East, but not of the Middle East. Why? Because it can afford to do so. So culturally and from an identity point of view, the Israelis established their own entity and their own identity, and they besiege themselves by walls and by division from the rest of the region. So they are not a natural progress of the region. This region has been a mosaic of every kind of culture and religion and ethnicity. So we are used to diversity as integral part of the identity, the geopolitical identity of the Middle East. But the Israelis are an exception because they came and they tried not to be part. They can afford because of the American support. Before that, by the British, of course, the Western support, now the American support to a large extent. And the model was established total insecurity. You need to have superiority as far as military is concerned and intelligence, and you continue to be the most superior militarily in the region. And whoever thinks of challenging you in the future, he will think twice because he cannot. And the Americans are guarantors of this kind of supremacy. So when the Americans sell weapons, for example, to any country in the Arab world, they will measure to what extent that will affect the balance of power with the Israelis, because the Israelis have to continue to be much more powerful than anyone else in the Middle East. This model has survived thanks to the American support. Now, if the Americans are gradually losing their supremacy as the only global hegemon, then the Israeli position from a geopolitical perspective is going to be affected. This is number one. Second, when the Americans supported this state of Israel in the region, they also needed from this state to act for the American interest to a large extent. But now, on the 7th of October, we discovered that this state, although it has the most sophisticated technology and military, but was defeated by a group of people who did not really have that kind of sophistication. It was an asymmetric war, but the lack of technology defeated the supremacy of technology, and now there is a massive shock in the international system and in Israel itself, and lack of confidence about its power. This is, we see the killing of civilians, and we see the genocide taking place in Gaza. Now, at this moment in time, the Americans brought their submarines, nuclear submarines, and warships to the region to show support to Israel. When this is cooling down after a while, and everyone starts thinking, Israel, which is supposed to be the policeman of the region, the most powerful in the region, has been proving weak. This is going to have a strategic as well implication on the status of Israel. So with time, I am seeing the Israeli status on geopolitical level is declining, not increasing. The only solution for Israel in this matter is to accept to be faithfully part of this region. It means they have to accept the fact that the Palestinians are here and they cannot continue killing the Palestinians and trying to deport the Palestinians out of their land, because even if they do so, that doesn't mean the end of confrontation. And the second point, which is important, they must realize that while they are doing so, they are motivating hundreds of millions of people from the Arab world, from the Muslim world, and from the global south to realize the plight of the Palestinians and to connect that plight to the tradition of fighting against colonial settlers and against apartheid and against the fight and the elimination and genocide of indigenous people. So Palestine now is moving to become part of this human march towards freedom that goes deep in history, and the West has been guilty always in suppressing it and fighting against it. And this is a massive transformation. This is why when I see people in Latin America or in Africa or in Asia demonstrating for Palestine and invoking their memory of colonialism in their countries or genocides of their indigenous people, this is the right location of the Palestinian cause, a liberation movement as part of this human endeavor to create a just world far from the Western hegemonic monopoly of resources and power.